Hi everybody, before we get started today, just want to throw out a trigger warning. We're going to be talking about Josh Duggar again. Um, Trigger warning. We know what it's about. We know what's going on here. Please take it seriously. Rosie even asked you to take it seriously. So I will see you guys in a minute. If you guys don't want to be here for this, I totally understand. I will see you on the next one. I will be doing a video about JonBenet Ramsey. The anniversary of her death is coming up in a few days. I'll also be doing a recap of my trip to New Orleans. So I will see you guys in a moment. Hi Crystal Balls, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video today. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please think about sticking around, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Please don't forget to do this. Not just for me, but please spread the love to other places, small YouTubers, mom and pop places, and things like that. Guys, this is a free way to support your loved ones out, and it is worth its weight in gold. So please, please do that. Even just a simple comment goes a very long way. Now, now as I speak about comments, everybody be kind in the comments. There's no reason to be rude. So we've been talking and covering the Josh Duggar case on this channel quite a bit. I've been accused of maybe being too feeling about this situation, and no, I don't believe that for a second. This is something that is one of those situations where if you don't feel, if you aren't taking this seriously, if you aren't learning from this situation, then there's something wrong. This is a horrific situation, and there's a lot of fallout that is happening. So one of the main questions that got answered was, would Josh Duggar be remanded into custody, or would he be able to go and be babysat? And because of the nature of these crimes, he had to go into prison. As far as I know, he's being held in some sort of solitary confinement for his own safety. Now, I don't have that 100%, but that's the sources and things that I've been hearing on the interweb and things like that. Honestly, I would believe that Josh Duggar would have to be held away from general population, not just because of his celebrity, but it's because of the nature of his crime. People in jail and in prisons do not take kindly to people like Josh Duggar. He is in an immense amount of danger, and good. That's all I can say. I don't feel any remorse about that. I don't feel any sort of way trying to have some sort of moral feeling about this. No, he has, in my opinion, no right to continue to live on this planet. But since this can't be a death penalty case, even though Bob Duggar, in his last electoral run, not this one, but the one previous to this, he did say that pedophiles needed to get the death penalty. So I hope that he still stands behind that. Obviously he doesn't, So his sentencing will happen, I think they said in about 4 months. That's pretty standard. Justice system is not super fast, but of course they're going to appeal. I honestly believe that they meaning Josh's people, the prosecution did what they did in order to get an appeal, because if they would have not had the woman who was on the stand as their expert, who is someone who definitely should not be considered an expert by anybody by any means. If they hadn't put someone like her on the stand, then I don't think they would have any chance for an appeal. Now, an appeal can still be denied. There has to be a reason for an appeal to happen. You just can't do one because you don't agree with the jury and what 12 women and men decided that you were guilty of. You can't just not like it. There has to be a tangible reason for um a rematch, basically. You can file for an appeal. There's nothing wrong with that, but you may not be granted it just because you file it. I think because of the high profile of this case, I I hate to say it, but I do believe that there will be another court case that happens. You just can't keep appealing things over and over again. Um, One of the things that can happen is added charges with Josh Duggar. So right now he's facing up to 25 years. Now, I know people, before it looked like it was going to be 40, but because two of the charges were technically so similar that you could consider them one, they had to go under one category. However, because of the nature of this whole situation, Josh Duggar's children are going to have to be forensically examined. Now, I know I talked about this a little bit previously, but Anna Duggar turned down the request of forensic analysis for their children prior to this whole situation starting, meaning like after Josh was arrested. She did not cooperate with this, which actually puts her in she can get into quite a bit of trouble with this. So let's say, for example, and I hope to God this doesn't happen, but let's say that they examine these children and they find out that yes, Josh has done some dirty deeds to them. I think it's highly likely he's done it to his siblings, he's done it to strangers. His appetite was actually suppressed by words from Jim Bob Duggar and Michelle Duggar. They really put a cap on all of this. And the sisters, the husbands, the siblings were hearing the truth and the reality of the situation in court, because their own father, their own mother, everybody had lied to them and very much downplayed the situation that happened. So, very disgusting, very vile, and because of the type of crime that Josh has been found guilty of and the type of person that he is, it would not surprise me if he had hurt his own children. So let's say that he had, and every one of his children, I believe, is under the age of 14. There is charges for each age group. And of course, the lower that you get, the higher the charges are going to be. So if he hurt any of his children, he could be facing a lot more jail time. He also could be facing a lot more jail time if anybody else comes forward. And that is a possibility. I want to take a moment to really thank Bobby Holt. I'm not a fan of hers, but she did the right thing. This doesn't excuse the other things that she has done in her life and the type of person that she is, but she got up on the stand and she told the truth. And under threat, under um, definitely under threat, under an immense amount of pressure. And people accused her of not doing other things to help this along, to, push for this to happen. She personally took Josh Duggar to the police station. There's really not much more this woman could have done. And I commend her for taking the stand and telling the truth, no matter how disgusting it was. She never backed down. Her husband did not back down, and I appreciate that. So good for you, Bobby Holt, on this situation. Again, I don't care for you. You're not a very good person, but you took this seriously enough, and I worry that her daughter may have been one of Josh Duggar's victims. I really hope that's not the case, but at least you stood up for this. I have to say that. I have to give props where props are due. And she did the right thing. If it was not for Bobby Holt, this would have been a much different situation. And Jill Duggar would have had to testify, as well as any other victim of his that was subpoenaed. So there is a possibility that more people will come forward. We have Jane's Doe's 1 through 4, who are siblings, but Jane Doe number 5 was not. And just based off of the amount of things that Josh Duggar did to these children and these girls and his siblings, and yeah, it would not surprise me if more victims are out there. I don't know the statute limitations on these types of things. However, more people coming forward is going to have more investigations into Josh and help keep him in jail where he belongs. 25 years is definitely not enough for this. That is considered a life sentence in the United States. 25 years is a life sentence. And I don't, because there isn't a sentencing yet, we don't know how long he's actually going to get. That's the maximum that he could get, is 20 plus 5 years. At this point in time, I really do feel like there'll be more charges added to him, but we have to remember, and this is something that the Duggar family, well, the ones that are still delusional, are not taking into consideration. Josh Duggar's life will never be the same again. He is a convicted felon. He is a convicted P. He is going to have to put himself on a registry. This will completely change his life. However, there are people that will decide to take justice in their own hands. He is a very public figure who has done something incredibly heinous. And if you think he is safe in jail or out of jail, you're completely wrong. He will never have a normal life again. I don't know if he would magically get out of jail for some reason and get to go home and be able to, act and do things that he normally would, which he couldn't. What would happen? His life expectancy is not long. And again, good. But Jim, Bob, Michelle, and Anna, and are very delusional, that they think things are going to turn around, that they think that he's going to be okay, that this is going to just be erased, they can just move on, they can just do an appeal. No, that will never happen. It's not just the court of opinion, it is a physical court that has found him guilty. And a lot of people doing a lot of work very carefully, which is why it took so long, because they got all of their ducks in a row. They did everything that they were supposed to do. The state did absolutely everything that they were supposed to do. Homeland Security, everybody down to the internet providers, they all did what they were supposed to do. And it takes a while to get that amount of cooperation, and they wanted to make sure they had all of their T's crossed and their I's dotted, and they did, which is why it took a little while for this to go to trial, because they knew without a shadow of a doubt that they had Josh Duggar. And they did, and they proved it. One of the other things that they can take into consideration when it comes to the trial, the sentencing, is cruel and unusual punishment, or cruel and unusual tactics. And I don't know exactly how much time they can tag on to that, but that's basically no remorse, showing you changed everybody's life in that room, and especially the jurors. They were the ones that had to see this, because Josh Duggar would not take a plea bargain, and he had a plea bargain on the table, and it was only 10 years, but he turned it down. Stupid. Very, very stupid. But because there was no remorse, there was nothing that made it seem like he gave a shit. And, the way that he was acting in court, the way that he went and hugged Jill, and just these disgusting things that he did, there was no remorse there. Nothing. And you put these 12 jurors and the alternatives and anybody else that had to see that shit, you put them through things that they will never, ever get over. And that is something that they can use in the sentencing. And I'm not 100% sure of the terminology. I'm not a lawyer, but I know something exists. I don't think it would get much more than like a 6 months, but the more time that this guy is behind bars, the better it is. Anna has basically been on lockdown. We really haven't heard anything. Bob Duggar lost his election by a landslide. Less than 500 people voted for him, and I'm pretty sure, the 500 people that did were probably people that were pressured in to do it because of his power, because of being a church member. I don't think they actually wanted him in. But he embarrassingly lost, as he should have. He never should have taken up any sort of Senate race or anything disgusting like that when this was happening to his family. Yeah, do you want a man like that being a representative? The next person they should go after is Bob Duggar. I firmly believe that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And I firmly believe that Bob Duggar is a vile, disgusting human being. Now, we already know that he is a groomer. We already know that he treats his girl children very disgustingly. We already know that, he is basically holding his oldest daughter prisoner in their home because of their religious cult beliefs. This is a cult, guys. I'm not going after Christianity. Don't think that. Christians don't do this shit. Okay? Atheists don't do this shit. This is one of those things where it's not because of a religion or lack of religion or anything like that. It's because this is a cult mentality. It is a cult. And it's a vicious, disgusting, vile person. There's bad eggs everywhere. But this cult is especially bad. And Josh Duggar, it doesn't matter what religion that you are or that you're not. They have used their religion to justify the behavior against women and children and sexual deviance. And if you do any research on fundamentalism, you will see, especially in the religion that they believe in, that the culture blames women for a man's discretions, including this stuff. So there are people in the community right now blaming Anna Duggar, not because she's stupid, not because she stood by this guy, not because she's neglected her children, and not because she's, done this, that, or the other. It's because she wasn't womanly enough, she wasn't good enough for Josh. If she didn't make herself joyfully available, then he never would have gone off and had the affairs, or he never would have gone off and did everything that he did. Forgetting that the children were hurt siblings. And of course, they blamed the siblings, the girls, for Josh Duggar's indiscretions as a child. He wasn't really a child. Because they made themselves too pretty. It's their fault. It's their fault that they looked a certain way. It's their fault that it happened. It is the women's fault that they didn't do something. They didn't provide something. They weren't enough for Josh to be able to control his vile urges and branch out and do disgusting things. That's what this shit is all about. That's what their cult has attached to it. I believe Anna needs to be held accountable for her child neglect. I mean, obviously she left her children in the care of other people while she was with her husband. She did not leave her husband's side during this entire situation. It's something that, she allowed the kids to be around him. She completely neglected her children. And she also did not allow the forensic testing to happen, which is also neglectful. The thing is, we have highly trained people who know how to go in and do these sorts of things without making it traumatic on the child. And if there's nothing to hide, then why did you hide your children? Why did you say no? And I do believe that Anna Duggar has her blame in this, but it's not because she's a woman, and it's not because she wasn't always joyfully available, or she failed in some way as a woman to appease her husband. She failed in staying in that situation. She failed in knowing about it. She failed in turning her back. She failed in not helping her kids. And I do 100% believe that she needs to be held accountable for it. I believe Jim, Bob, and Michelle need to be held accountable for their portion, because obviously they have created a fence of lies around their family in order to protect Josh. So much so that their own children who were part of this abuse didn't fully understand what happened to them. They were never allowed to get help. They were never allowed to get out of this situation where their abuser lived with them every single day. They were forced to go on television. They were forced to go on the Megyn Kelly show and speak about it, and they didn't want to. They were forced into contracts that Jim Bob signed for them because they were minors. They were forced to work with their abuser. And Jim Bob and Michelle had no problem with it. I am speechless at the amount of abuse that's happened. I believe, like I said before, that TLC does have accountability. There is no protective laws for children when it comes to reality shows. So these kids who are working have no union or anything to help them out with. They are not actors. They're reality stars. And that means that a representative, such as their father, can force them into child labor, which is exactly what he was doing. And he has said multiple times, and you can find this out there, that the children were not getting paid because they were doing this as part of their missionary. They volunteered. So even when these kids were sick, even when they weren't feeling well, even if they just had been abused by their brother, they had to go in front of the camera and perform like a monkey. TLC has a lot of responsibility for this as well. I have a huge problem with reality shows that include children. I have a huge problem with family vloggers that include children, because children are not content. Children are not content. Children are not content. Okay? It is abusive and intrusive to be part of their lives and give them a warped sense of reality, to make them work, to make them miss school, to make them miss things in their life, to have fans that stalk them. Horrible things happen to these kids. And there is no accountability. I do not support anything like that. A lot needs to change. But the biggest thing needs to change is everybody's thought process about how this is away from them. And this is going to be where I'm ending here, because I'm not feeling well. I'm tired, and I will catch up later with a couple other videos. Like I said, Jean Benet, and then I will do a recap on my trip to New Orleans. We need to stop thinking that this type of abuse is something that is far removed from us. And we need to get out of the mindset that it happens to just celebrities. That is not true. This abuse is in your backyard. You probably know someone, and you don't necessarily realize it, who is in this life right now. There is so many ways of human trafficking that isn't just sex. Forced labor. So many other things. It is all around you. And I want people to take from this not just a lesson of what this world is like, but the reality that this world is literally in your backyard. It is in your town. It is in your school. It's in your church. It's in your community. It is everywhere. Do not be fooled into thinking that it is somebody else's problem. It's somebody else's issue. This happens to celebrities. This happens to anyone. I want to remind you that the average human being to purchase, it's $90. $40 in some cases. That's it. This is a huge issue. Huge. And I want people to take away from this situation the reality of how bad this is. There is nowhere safe. There is the living hell happening in your backyard. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for this. I'm sorry you guys can hear Rose barking. She's quite angry. But, you know, take from this what you need. I really, really hope that you guys will check out places like RAIN, like Thorn, like the Center for Exploited and Missing Children. You can get an idea of how all of this is happening. I am selling a bag that I will put a link in the description. That money raised will go towards Thorn, and that is a cause that I 100% believe in. So until next time, guys, remember every single day is a gift. Use your time wisely, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.